What is up, everybody? So happy Monday. I wanted to do a video because I wanted to paint a scenario that has happened amongst my inner circle a lot the last year. And I've had so many conversations with so many people trying to help them out through their situation. And, here's the scenario. It's you are in the perfect relationship. You finally found the one for you, right? The love of your life. And you something happens, you screw up, and now you get dumped. Right? The person that you've been waiting all your life for, who finally enters into your life, you make a mistake, and now you're shattered. You lost that person, right? They break up with you. And this has just recently happened to me. And people, when I was having these conversations with people, one of the things they asked me is how I can be so even keel about everything, like about my situation, about the way I talk. Because when people are talking to me and they want advice, I think the best way for me to give them advice is to show them that I too was in this situation, and this is what I had to start doing to move past it. And truth is, I am terrible when it comes to being dumped in relationships. It takes me months and months to get over. And I beat myself up. I feel like I fucked everything up and that I was in the perfect relationship and how did I fuck this up and go figure and this was too good to be true, so I just self-sabotaged it and the list goes on, right? And what I started doing differently in this case, because this one was the worst. This one was the worst for me because this was the person that I can legit say I cared about more than any other person anything in my life. I would have given, I would have fallen on swords, grenades for this person, or whatever it was. This person was very much my what I thought was my better half, my one I was gonna spend the rest of my life. And in fact, my life, I didn't even think about my life moving forward without this person. That's how special this person was. So after months of just being broken and being tormented and the manipulations and the mind game and the reminders of why the relationship, like all that shit, months. And I wasn't sleeping. I was in a dark fucking place. I mean, there was points where I would go for drives for hours just listening to music and pounding a bunch of Xanax to help the knots in my stomach. I mean, I was the drugs, the alcohol. I was fucking killing myself. And right, and I wanted to. I felt like I deserved to be punished for what I did, and then I started paying attention. Like I got sick of it. I got sick of feeling this way. I got sick of just. I needed to start putting myself back, and I started paying attention to the things that were going into. I started to really reflect on these thoughts in my mind and actually take my time and sit down like, okay, I'm having this thought. Where is this coming from? Why am I feeling this way? And one of the things that I realized, and one of the things that helped me out the most, again, this is me, this could be different for everybody else, was the person who broke up with me in the situations that my friends had been in, where they were the ones getting. There was always this weird buffer period, and this is like this with the breakups, right? This weird buffer period where it's like you, you're still like kissing and you're still talking the I miss yous and you're still fucking each other, right? Because you just been doing it for the last few years. So, you might as well just do it with each other. You already had sex, right? So you're doing that. And to me, that's whatever floats your boat, right? But I think the problem with that is the person who gets dumped is still emotionally invested in wanting to be back in that relationship. The person who does the dumping, they don't. You're the fill the void until they find somebody else. You're the so they don't feel lonely, and when they need something, they can rely on you because they know you're broken. You'll do anything to get back with them. So they'll dump. I mean, they will do anything to get anything they want. Right? Narcissistic behavior, and then ultimately they have control over you. And what's gonna end up happening is they lead you on, so you're thinking, "Oh, okay, so this will work out. We're just working it out," and in their mind, that's not even the case at all. In their mind, they're getting off until they find somebody else, and then you're not gonna hear from them. And then when that happens, it's almost like you have to go through the breakup all over, right? Because in your mind, you were optimistic. You thought you were fixing everything that you fucked up to get back in this relationship. And the reality is, they were just taking control over you and they were using you for what they needed you for until they find somebody else that they can further rely on. So my first thing is stop with the purgatory fuck around, right? Like I think in order for you to start moving forward and moving on from your last relationship is you need to cut that person off. Don't give them control over you. Cut them off. Block their number and so you're not getting texts. Unfriend them, unfollow them, block them on social media. Like I can tell you I've had so many friends who would just sit there and fucking torment themselves by going to their ex's Facebook page or Instagram page or or texting them like a million times to see if they're gonna respond. Like, don't do that. Let them go. Like, it is hard. It is hard to have somebody where you talk to, you had a routine with for a year or for 6 months or for 3 years or for 5 years, and then just completely cut it off. Especially when you're the one that's like you want to be back with that person. That is the biggest mistake I think people can make because again, the purgatory thing, most of the time, that relationship is not going to happen again. And what you are doing is you are essentially putting yourself out there to be broken again. That you are going to get controlled, you're going to get used for what that person wants, and then when they find somebody, they're going to leave you to peace. And then you're going to have to deal with that all over again. And then you're going to have to sit there and beat yourself up again like what did you do wrong? You've given them your everything, right? And it still wasn't good enough. Two, what I started noticing is the way I would envision the relationship when I was hurt. And I envisioned my relationship as the perfect relationship. It was the most perfect thing in the world, and I fucked it up. How can I do such a thing? I'm never going to find this again. It's like this false sense of like this false sense of thinking, or like it's like this fantasy, right? Like if your relationship was that perfect, if you screwed up and you guys couldn't communicate and you couldn't talk about it and couldn't work through it, how perfect of a relationship was that? How much investment was that other person in? You can make one mistake and then you're just gone. And the worst part is when you make a mistake and then they don't communicate with you and then they stray off to somewhere else or to someone else, right? Like how good, how perfect of a relationship could that have possibly been where that is the end result and one little fuck up and you're done, right? And that's what I tell people all the time when they're telling me. I'm like, they'll be like, yeah, this I was gonna spend the rest of my life with this person. I'm never gonna find what I had. It's like, no, you're making that up in your head. Like that is not the reality of it at all. Like I remember the phone calls where this person was just lashing out at you for no reason or making you feel like shit or whatever it was. Like I remember the venting and the phone calls of my friends that were they got into a fight and they got kicked out or whatever it is. It's like I have to remind them that that happened because it's like they're so broken and they're so filled with guilt that they're not seeing the relationship for really what it was. And granted, I'm the friend. Like I'm only gonna hear the bad parts. Like you almost never hear the good parts, right? But the reality is the bad parts they sounded pretty fucking bad. And yet you have this false sense of reality where it's like nothing was wrong and you fucked it up, right? And I had that same mindset when I got dumped by every relationship. But then what I started doing is like I took that thought and I actually started thinking about everything that I went through or everything I had to tolerate for years in my relationship. And then I realized, holy fuck, like what was I, an idiot? Like maybe I jumped into this too soon, right? Or maybe the person that I was with, like maybe I should have waited because their life was a fucking mess. So maybe I should have waited till they got their shit together before we tested it out. Yeah, that I couldn't tell you how many times I had to be a secret, or I had to miss out on things because I couldn't be seen in public, or you know, I was put in these really uncomfortable positions, and I mean I couldn't even tell you how many times I had, and I don't even see it. Like when I get dumped, like I forget all about that, and I view this as the perfect thing. And then when you start realizing the reality of the relationship, you'll start realizing that you wouldn't have, you'll never do that again. Like, and that's the important part. Like, learn from it. Learn from the person you were with. If it was that perfect, and you could do something to screw it up, and you can't even work through it, then take a look at that other person, right? Like maybe that person wasn't ready to be. Maybe they weren't ready to be that in that type of commitment, right? And when you start breaking that down, I guarantee you'll start realizing you'll never do that again. Like now you'll have a better idea of what you want in a relationship. You'll have a better idea of how you want to be treated in a relationship. And I can tell you right now, when I sit there and analyze all the shit I had to go through, like that, and then all of a sudden turns into regret. Like holy shit! Like I should have never done that. I should have waited. And that was always the conclusions I made. Is like, well, I should have waited till this person got their shit together. My life was very much in peace. Like I had my shit together. I was rolling. Things were good, right? The other person, not so much. And then when that other person's shit becomes your shit, and then it starts blowing up into your life, like, that's a fucking problem. And like I said, like I looking back at my past relationships, I'll never do that again. And now, when you start realizing that, you start getting a better perception of what you want in a relationship, what you want that other person to be, how you want that other person to react to you. And I think that was between breaking the communication and realizing the reality of what the relationship really was. Then things I think become this is where you can start putting the pieces back together, right? And start realizing, you know, that was not good for you, and that there are people out there that you could find that maybe you'll find that right person, right? So be patient with it, and then start focusing on yourself. I think the third thing for me is, that was big for me, was forgiving myself for them, and that was the hardest part, right? And realizing that I very much made atone, I believe, for the mistake. So I got nothing to dwell on it. Like I did everything I could and gave it my all. And even with that weird like purgatory buffer zone, it's like where you're still like still communicating all the time, and having sex and hanging out, and you're hoping that the relationship gets up. You start realizing like um, you know it's just, yeah, maybe what you did screwed up the relationship, but now you learn from that as well, and you don't do that moving, right? And maybe there was things you could have done, or maybe it was the way the other person was. And this again is that false sense of reality. Maybe the way that other person was made you react the way you react, which ultimately ended. So most of the time it's probably not even your fault. You're just reacting to what this person is doing, and then they're putting the blame. Right? It's like one of my favorite quotes. It's like, you want to call me a monster, but you don't want to take credit for creating, right? And that's usually what it boils down. And then four, stop giving that other person the. And again, I think I touched on this earlier. It's you go through these breakups, you hit that weird purgatory point, and you got to avoid it. You can't do that. You can't. There's always somebody gonna get emotionally invested, and that person, like, you don't put yourself in positions where you're constantly having to go through the breakup with, right? Because it is not healthy. So if I was to sum up this video and getting over a relationship, the most important thing is you got to break communication. There is no reason somebody dumps you, and I get it. If you break the communication for a month, right? And I get it. People don't want to do it because they still want to be hopeful that they can work things out. I mean, if the relationship's over, it's over. And again, different people react different. And this is just what I have, right? This is what helped me. This is what I advise my friends when they ask for. I just say, this is what I needed for myself. You break the communication, right? Do it for a month because, ultimately you need that month of quiet, not to deal with this person. Because I think once you have that month of not dealing with this person, then that false sense of reality of it being a perfect relationship, you could start thinking of the actual reality of the relationship, right? And then you'll start realizing that holy shit, this probably wasn't for you. This person wasn't for you because it's most of the time, and don't let this person constantly, constantly make you feel like shit. Forgive yourself. Once you forgive yourself for it, you can apologize to them. If they don't accept your apology, then that's on them. But do not, I repeat, do not let them constantly drive that nail into your hands, into the cross, to make you feel like shit for what you did. You apologize once, and that is it. And if they want to keep bringing it up and keep reminding you, then you need to tell them fuck off, and you need to block them. If you didn't block them earlier, again, and that's another thing too. Because if they know that they can get to you by doing that, then you give them control. They're going to walk all over you. So again, forgive yourself because once you forgive yourself, you can apologize, but forgive yourself, like truly forgive yourself for what you did if it was a mistake you made, and make amends with that. And then again, after that, don't allow them to bring it up anymore. If they do, you remind them, I apologize for this. We're not talking about it. Done. I've forgiven myself. If you don't forgive me, then that's your problem. That's not. And you got to remember that chances are in the relationship, the one that gets dumped is probably the one that was probably mistreated. Not all the time, but probably most of the time is the one that ultimately was not getting what they needed out of the relationship. So let that person who broke up, that's somebody else's problem, right? Because once you start realizing the reality of your relationship, and you start of all your relationships, you start realizing what you truly want in somebody. You want somebody who's got their shit. You want somebody who also knows what they want. If you are not meeting people who know what they want, who know themselves, and if you're not meeting these type of people to be in relationships, everybody else is just somebody else's problem. Because chances are, whatever happened to you, they are going to do that to somebody, and so on, right? Because they are not going to learn. You will learn. It's a conscious thing, right? Take a look at the reality of it. I don't know if this video helps. I feel like maybe I did a terrible job at explaining what I was trying to get across. So post something in the comments below. Let me know what you think. Again, I didn't write any of this down. I didn't take notes. I kind of went with it because it's just a conversation that I've had so much. And I am very different. I will not let somebody else destroy me anymore. I cannot do it, will not do it, not gonna happen. If and I think now that I realize how I'm able to get through it, and if someone dumps me, we could talk about it. We can try to work it out if that's what we come up with. But I'm not doing any more of the bullshit. Like that, I need time to process. Like fuck that. That is that. If someone tells you I need time to process everything, that relationship is done. Even if you give them time to process and they get back with you, I can promise you they did not process anything. They probably were out trying to get something else. It failed, and they're sick of being alone, so they come back to you. So if someone gives you that bullshit, I tell you right now, I cut it off quick. If you don't know you want to be with me, then move on, because that's what I'm gonna do. I'm not gonna sit here in limbo and waiting for you to decide whether or not you want to be with me. That shit, I'm getting all heated up right now. That shit pisses me off when people do that shit, because that had happened to me, and oh man, that thing fucking tormented my soul. And then when I would ask, like, well, what's going on or what do we do? Hey, it's my fault. Hey, I needed space. What the fuck? Right? What? You're telling me all these nice things. And then you need. Now I'm going around. I'm going around. I'm not even gonna do that. I'll do another video on that bullshit because now I'm getting all fucking heated up because I hate that. I hate that shit with them. And when my friends were telling me that that's what they were being told too, like I was getting all fucking fueled up because it was like that's like my PTSD is stupid ass shit like that. I cannot stand that. So, oh my god. Everybody have a good day. I'm gonna cut this video off or else I'm not sleeping tonight. Everybody have a good day. Post something in the comments below. Make sure you like and follow the channel. Follow me on the social medias. Because I'm just posting random shit there all the time. I'm gonna do some videos on the Super Bowl. I got some reaction videos up, just not doing the trans thing. That's just so I'm out. Peace.